You know how sometimes you'll see those stock videos of kids running around a playground, usually with their arms out, having fun, and it looks like such like a nice, wholesome scene? Yeah, not anymore. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today our movie in the middle is Weapons.
What do you see that I don't?
Weapons is the newest horror movie telling the story of a town in distraught after a classroom of kids all go missing, having run out of their houses and into the night at 2:17 a.m. It stars Julia Garner, Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich, and Benedict Wong. This video is sponsored by Campbell Soup, if you know, you know. Okay, so this is the movie that we have all been waiting for and wanting to know, how did it do? This has been a crazy hype train for this movie because no one knew about it, what, maybe 6-7 months ago, if that? And then suddenly this trailer came out, this teaser, and everyone's like, I gotta see this movie. I didn't even know this was coming out this year, and the reason is because originally it was supposed to come out in January, and the test screenings were so good that they pushed it up to August. This is, of course, directed by the same guy who did Barbarian, Cregger, and if you saw that movie, you know that was a really great blend of some funny horror, but also some actually terrifying moments in horror. This guy came out swinging with that one. And if all of that wasn't enough for you to be like, I gotta go see this movie, and you probably have heard this, but for those who haven't, Jordan Peele wanted to have this movie and be distributed by his production company, Monkey Paw. And the people that he got to go out and bid on it lost. And he fired them. That says all you need to know right there. But since the trailer came out, which, by the way, has to be one of the creepiest and most effective teasers I've ever seen, since that came out, there's been so much hype building about this movie. People saying that it's insanely good. It's the next Jaws and Exorcist of this year and this generation. I mean, there was even a website dedicated to all the missing children and giving them profiles and everything. Like, it has been an insane expectation for this movie. So with all that being said, how did it do? Starting off with the highs. What we're all here for, the horror. This movie is scary as shit. The regular normal scares that you get, like jump scares, dream sequences, normally that's been overdone. But in this one, still good. The execution of all of this stuff, which I'm going to get to a little bit more in a minute, is incredibly well mastered. Specifically, one scene that is going to stick with me for a long time. That scene had to be one of the best horror movie experiences I have had in a very long time. I mean, the entire audience was silent. And then something happens. You hear one sound, and they gasped. Every one of us at once. It was really good. I mean, you know it's a well-executed horror movie and horror sequences when you have kids literally Naruto running, and it's still creepy. But I think what puts it over for the scares and the terror in terms of this movie isn't just those specific moments. It's the entire atmosphere that the movie has and the tone. That is something, this lingering terror, that I have not felt since I saw Hereditary 6 years ago. I did not expect this movie to sit with me as much as it has. You know, I'm walking around at night in my apartment or my parents' house, and I'm looking around corners and being like, maybe someone's standing there. I'm hauling it up basement stairs. Like, that has not been me for a while. You know, having watched basically a horror movie or two a week for the last couple of years, if not more than that, I feel pretty seasoned. And every time I watch a horror movie, I'm like, I'm good. This is the first time in a while I'm like, maybe I'm not great. And it's because of that lingering underlying terror, this atmosphere. Even Cobweb had that a little bit, this movie from 2023. This one, I think, is just seeped in it. I think it's more, the right word is dread. That just comes with the suspense of every scene in this movie. But part of that atmosphere is quite literally the atmosphere of the scenes, how they're set up, the lighting. And one thing I noticed about the lighting in this movie specifically is not only is it kind of dark as shit in a lot of scenes, which is like, you gotta go see this in a theater to really get the experience. So turn all the lights off when you go to see it. There's something that they do with the cinematography in one location, I won't say what it is, but in one location that I really liked. You know when it's like maybe 4 or 5 p.m. out and it's kind of overcast, and inside your house, if you have some of the blinds closed or even open a little bit, but you don't have any lights on, it's like dark. It's not dark because it's nighttime, but that's almost worse because it's nice and bright and sometimes sunny, sometimes overcast outside, but like you can't see anything inside. That's like the weirdest thing. And they utilized that a lot in this movie, and it gave a definite feel to that location. Also, I love the music in this movie, but I am one who also very much appreciates the utilization of no music, and they got that right in this one. There's a lot of scenes where there are no music playing, and that made it 10 times scarier. So I very much appreciate that technical element as well. The acting was very well done. So far, this has been a very big year for Julia Garner. She was in Wolfman, and then she was in Fantastic Four, and now she's in this. And so far, up to this point, I'm like, yeah, she's pretty good. But then in this movie, she got to actually showcase her acting way more, and I loved her in this movie. Josh Brolin, Alden Ehrenreich, really all of them are, like, doing everything right. Like, there's no one character that I want to be like, they were better than another. There is one that stands out, and I cannot tell you who this person is. But you will know it when you see it. But obviously, probably the creepiest part of this movie, at least going into it, is the story, its premise, about these kids who get up in the middle of the night, all at once, and just leave the house. And they run like this, and it's like, why? Why do you have to run like this? That's just makes it so much scarier. But there's like, I don't know why, but it's such a disturbing premise. Well, I don't know why. Of course I know why. It's a disturbing premise. That suspense, that intrigue, you're like, I don't want to find out, but I really have to find out what's going on here. And the whole thing where the town is involved in this, and it's been like a month, and there's all these, you know, like reports going on, and it's just this whole big news story. That's always a very interesting element. But in this one, it's just like even creepier because there's nothing to go off of. Like, what do you even do with this? What happened? You know, and why is it just this one classroom? You know, all of those questions, and I really only had inklings and guesses like everybody else as to what it could have been. There was a lot of theories and conspiracies about what was gonna be going on for real in this movie once we found out. And that suspense was just great. Going into this movie having no idea what was about to happen was some of the best experiences I've had with a movie in a while. And I do like how it's told. It's told in 6 sections and kind of 3 perspectives, I'll say, on the same story. And it really is able to dive into a lot of things with certain characters and all, which is very cool. It kind of makes this, what ends up being kind of a straightforward answer, very broken up and complex. And you don't have all the pieces until very late in the movie. And that made it so much more fun. Now, having said that, I'm going to go into my middles for the movie because there's a lot here that I want to discuss that I don't think I necessarily don't like, but I have a lot of thoughts and they're going to be kind of vague. Obviously, the big thing about the movie is that you're going into it not knowing what's about to happen. I guess that's most movies, but you know what I mean? Like this big reveal as to what's actually going on. And for a lot of people, it's going to be great. For a lot of people, they're going to be disappointed. Some people are going to be sort of in the middle. It's a very weird concept nowadays that I kind of want to talk about in another video, but I don't have time to talk about it here. I'm just going to briefly mention it, which is something that I think has been demonstrated a lot with this one in particular for myself and other people, is the role of hype and expectation in movies. And what I mean by that is we nowadays have a teaser and trailers, probably like 2 to 4 trailers, TV spots, websites, like a year's worth of time to think of theories and have expectations and come up with what you think might be in the movie. And while that's all very fun, I have found that recently that's been kind of making a lot of my movie experiences sort of not as great. Because you could go one of 2 ways, especially with this movie. We don't know what it's going to end up being, so your imagination either comes up with any and everything, and then you're disappointed that it's not that thing. Or you can predict what it's going to be, and then you're disappointed that you predicted it. Now, my question is, does that make the movie bad? Because if you saw this in a vacuum, Like, somebody just said, hey, you've never heard of this, let's watch it real quick. And you had no time to come up with any thoughts, you had no inkling of what it was about, you had no trailers or anything. Would that make the movie better? Because you didn't have any previous conceptions about what these answers could have been. And I just think it's interesting to talk about because, you know, hype and expectation is really, it's a factor now. And should we consider those variables when it comes to judging and critiquing movies, or should we just continue to do it based off the movie itself? So again, that's a sort of tangent that I wanted to dive into way more in another video, but for now, I want to talk about what I thought about the reveal and what the answers were in this movie, which is, I think the direction that they went in and what they did with this movie was, honestly, for what they chose, the best they could have done with it. I feel like no matter what a movie does with their ending, when it's something like this, where every little piece is building towards something, no matter what that finale is, there's always going to be slight disappointment, even if it's incredibly well done, because now you've narrowed it down to one answer, and you're like, oh man, it wasn't this or it wasn't this. You have to stick to a path. And so on a first watch, maybe for some people that's great, and then in later watches, because they know it's coming, it's not as good. Or maybe it's the other way around, where you can appreciate it more later once you know what it is and you've kind of accepted that. You know what I mean? And for this one, I think I'm sort of in a little bit of both. I really, really, really like what they did with the end of this movie. I do wish that, because the answer and what is actually going on feels a little bit more, for lack of a better word, coincidental, I wish that it had felt like a more impactful reason to match the suspense that got us there, if that makes sense. Because then I think, okay, well, if it was more of a coincidental reason for things happening, maybe the reason that we're diving so much into each part of this movie and each character is it's supposed to be revealing, you know, more about the themes of how it's affecting everybody in this town. I gotta be honest, I've thought about it for days and I can't quite figure out what it's trying to say. And this is the thing that I have found with both Zach Cregger movies that I've seen, is I know it's trying to say something, and it's trying to say something kind of deep or pretty important, but I can't quite figure out what it is. Like a baby who, like, once they're able to speak, you know they're gonna say some intelligent stuff, but they just quite can't, or maybe I just can't understand it. And it sucks because I know it's trying to do something, but I just can't figure it out. Kind of going along with that, I don't quite understand what the title is referring to. Like, I can think of a couple of things. I've talked to people, they've said, oh, it's probably this or this, but I feel like it just should be deeper, you know? I don't know why, but I feel like it's gotta be talking about something else in terms of the characters, the quality of the town, something like that, because there's a couple sections in this movie that are plot adjacent, and they really dive into stuff with the characters, and I'm like, but why are we focusing so much on this? There's got to be a reason. So again, that's a lot of ranting that, if you've seen the movie, you might know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, go see the movie, please, and then you'll understand what I'm kind of starting to get at here, because I feel a lot about this movie, and I really, really want to see it again. I'm going to see it again. And then I can tell you maybe some more of a quick, like, update on what I'm thinking about it. But overall, this was one of the best horror movie experiences and theater experiences I have had in a long time. And it's so nice to have a movie where you can feel excited for it, and then it is also good. And I would say that's happened maybe 5 times in the last year. I mean, everything about this movie works. All the aspects are there, and the most important one is that it terrified me. Not just scared me in the moment, but it kind of terrified me lingering after, like 10 Cloverfield Lane or Mother did when I went to see those. Now, a lot of people are asking the question, is this movie of the year? Is it better than Sinners? Because I think Sinners is generally considered the best movie of the year so far. My answer as of right now is, if we're talking about the horror moments and elements in a movie and the horror genre as a whole, and considering it from that angle, this is my favorite of the year. If we're talking about overall movie, I think Sinner still takes the cake thus far for the whole year. But I love this movie so much, despite my, lingering, like, I'm not sure, I gotta think on the themes and all of this stuff. That is just topped so much by, like, how I felt watching the movie, and that has not happened in such a long time, that I'm going to give Weapons a 4 out of 4. And I'm also giving it its probably most deserved in a long time Shell Shock award. Well, guys, let me know what you thought of Weapons. I'm so excited for anybody who hasn't seen it yet to go see it, or if you have seen it, for you to see it again. I know I'm going. And do you want me to talk more about that whole hype and expectation thing? What do you think about that? I'm really curious to hear people's thoughts, because I think we've definitely gone into a different era of movie watching and movie experience, and that's definitely a factor now, which is kind of making it worse. So let me know all your thoughts on that and the movie as a whole. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.